Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learn back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Jupiter making a square opposition or inconjunct aspect to one's natal Neptune. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Jupiter, it can be about expanding horizons, going outside the box, so to speak, enthusiasm, exuberance, optimism, hope, jocularity, joviality, truth, and veracity. Now, when the transit Jupiter basically makes an adverse aspect to one's natal Neptune. Well, I'm going to elaborate. When I say basically adverse aspect, what I'm saying is the square and opposition aspects, of course, in astrology are negative and adverse. Now, the inconjunct aspect can be seen as neutral, but neutral aspects can have some bad elements as well as good, and also coupled with the fact that an inconjunct can often require an adjustment, a transition, and those things can cause a little tension and exasperation. So collectively, I'm saying basically this transit is, I see it as adverse. Now, the thing about this is now when transit Jupiter is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Neptune, well, it can manifest in expanding horizons, going outside the box, so to speak, enthusiasm, exuberance, optimism, hope, jocularity, joviality, the truth and veracity. Now, these things might conflict with one's dreams at this time. You might not have really the exuberance and enthusiasm to pursue, those dreams of, say, the natal Neptune is in Aquarius, as an example. It could be something with astrology or aerospace or astronomy or even innovation, electronics, humanitarianism. Neptune is also connected with one's fantasies, and it could be where, those things you just don't have maybe the optimism, or you don't feel like you have much hope in attaining things that are fantastical or of a fantasy nature. If the natal Neptune is in Capricorn, it could be something of a business nature or something with the government or political work. Another thing too is Neptune is also associated with one's ideals at this time. And the thing about this is, now the thing is, the ideals, those are things that, like the dreams, like the fantasies I mentioned before, those are things you might not, be upbeat about in terms of trying to, work on or doing things that are, connected with it. If, say if Neptune is in the fourth house, it could be something, like a dream home or something, or, doing something, that's connected with what your ideals are. And the thing too is Neptune is about inspiration, and again, Jupiter is about exuberance and enthusiasm. So it might be a little bit harder to be inspired to do things at this time, or maybe be inspired to expand one's horizons, because of course you have the planet connect Jupiter, which is about expanding horizons and going outside the box, in conflict with Neptune, which is about inspiration. Now, Neptune is also connected with chaos and confusion. So if you're trying to do something, Jupiter related, it could be, simply, traveling abroad, or could be trying to choose a college course. There may be more confusion. There may be more ambivalence and connection with this at this time. It might be. Neptune is also connected with what's nebulous or unclear. So at this time, foreigners, Jupiterian people such as publishers, athletes, advertisers, religious people, these people might be a little bit harder to gauge and to see, all the fine details, the fine print in these people at this time. And another thing is that looking at this transit, anatomically speaking, okay, Neptune is connected with the feet, the toes, the immune and lymphatic system. So it can be a time where, Jupiter, when you're talking about a transit that's basically adverse, and Jupiter can be about enlargement, it can be a situation where, issues with these things, if you have any issues with the feet, the toes or the immune or lymphatic system, they might be enlarged at this time, or you may exaggerate upon them or distort them at this time. Maybe you're having difficulty finding hope and optimism regarding these things at this point in time. Or it could be, if you're an athlete, it could be something sports related that might have caused some issues with this, like the feet or the toes as an example. Now, another thing too is that Neptune, I mean, we're talking about, Neptune is connected with imprisonment and incarceration. Now, in some isolated cases, if someone's having this transit and they are trying to evade the law, it might be a little harder for them to do so at this time, because Jupiter can be connected with the law. Neptune is escapism. It's connected again with incarceration and imprisonment. It can be, at this time as well. I mean, Neptune is also about isolation. So it can be a time where there might be some situation where maybe it could simply be that you're not exactly upbeat or enthusiastic about isolating yourself at this time, which might not actually be bad, but it could also be where there might be a conflict with trying to expand horizons, but yet you're feeling like maybe you need to hide, you need to escape at this time, you need to isolate yourself. So there can be a conflict as far as that goes. Now, Jupiter can be connected again with publishing, advertising. It can be, and Neptune is deception. So just be careful at this time. It's really important to be prudent and more guarded regarding some kind of fallacious or false advertising, and don't get sucked in to something and be duped, and it's gonna promises this and that and doesn't even deliver on half of whatever it is you're trying to get, or it could be something you're trying to purchase, as an example. And the thing is, another thing too is that another way this transit may manifest and pan out, it could be again difficulty in finding, reiterate what I said previously, difficulty in finding an enthusiasm or exuberance to attain one's dreams. Now, say for example, if Neptune, natal Neptune is in Sagittarius, it could be dreams of being some sports athlete or doing something with advertisement, publishing, exploration, or adventure, as some examples. Now, and also guard against over optimism and regarding to perhaps dissolve something. Neptune is connected with dissolving and dissipation. Now, say the natal Neptune is in Capricorn, it could be something business or career, or something with the government, or if you're doing something with accounting or dentistry, or just general mundane work. This could be a time where it might be harder to dissolve these things. This time you're trying to end something, even if it's like a gradual ending. Dissolving, I would say, could be more of a gradual ending. It's dissipation. Now, another thing too is that at this time there could be philosophical differences that may be connected, with could be with spiritualists. It could be people in the metaphysical. That includes astrology, or people that are strongly into paranormal. At this time, it could be, or maybe, let's say for an example, let's say if the transit, Jupiter is in Scorpio, it could be issues that are you might there might be philosophical differences connected with the occult, which can include astrology. It could be matters with transformation, even something or trying to it could be just Scorpio's crisis as well, or shared resources. It can be issues where there might be differences in opinion on that. Now, another thing too is that another way this transit may be expressed, it could be the law. Again, reiterating what I said previously. Now, the law could be something that may be harder to escape. Now, let's take an example. Let's say that if the natal Neptune is in Scorpio, as an example, it can be something over, with insurance or taxes, or it could be a credit card issue. At this time that maybe you're having a harder time escaping. I would say the truth might be harder to escape and could catch up with you if you've been doing something, somewhat deceptive or what have you. The truth is something where it may have a better chance of coming out at this time. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now another thing too. Now, if there's any issues, say something Jupiter related, anatomically speaking, like the liver, pancreas, the hip, the sciatic nerve, uh, it may adversely affect your sleep. It may cause some kind of weakness at this time, and there could also be, you know, greater propensity for something again with advertising, publishing, or religion that may be fallacious and may try to suck you in at this time. So just be more guarded and careful regarding these things at this time. And it's possible too that if you have any issues again, like with the feet, the toes, the lymphatic or immune system, just be careful not to you're not exaggerating or distorting things at this time, because sometimes when you talk about Jupiter, basically adverse aspects, there could be a tendency to enlarge and inflate issues as well. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Leonard saying, stay well.